Hi, this is Roger in Finland, and today we're going to talk about my downsizing but upgrading, in my opinion, of my equipment. So for the impatient ones, I sold a ton of stuff. You can see it in this other video. And then I got a Sony A7 IV and a zoom lens. No, I'm not crazy. Please hear me out. So I had reached the conclusion that I had way too much choice paralysis and then way too many things sitting on shelves and in bags, even though I love the bags, that were being unused for too long time. And what I did was take a look at all of those things that I had used for years and then make a comprehensive list for me of what is that I enjoyed the most and I appreciated the most, and try to get all of that in one single gear package. So from the cameras, I did like the full frameness of the D610. Yes, I know, I did that. From the Olympus EM1 Mark II, I enjoyed very much the stabilization in the autofocus, and that combination is amazing. And from the A6400, I enjoyed the color science. Please don't get upset about this. I know it's an 8-bit camera. I still enjoyed very much using S-Log2 and S-Log3 with Sony 8-bit cameras. I have many videos talking about it, but I just do like to have a color managed workflow, which I did not get with the Olympus EM1 Mark II. First thing to note is that there is no such thing as any camera that has the combination of stabilization and autofocus as the Olympus has. The EM1 Mark II already had it. I can only expect the Mark III and the OM1 are even better at that department. So that's something that combination I might not get. But then the question for me was, do I appreciate more the autofocus or the stabilization? The fact that I had sold all of the Panasonic cameras that I have owned in the past kind of answers that question. Autofocus had higher priority to me than the stabilization. And as much as I want to vlog more, or actually I should say that I want to vlog more with mirrorless cameras, I end up not doing it. I've done it with some of them as a test type of thing. I don't know if will I be doing it with the A7 IV, time will tell, but I always end up taking an action camera, which have even better stabilization than the Olympus. So clearly I wanted something that has decent stabilization for many uses, but I don't need to have really good stabilization when walking around, because I just don't do that very much. I think we have established that I don't do this or don't know how to do this, and by this I mean vlogging, the whole walking with the camera in your hands. I usually prefer to do it with the action camera. The Action 2 is my current favorite since it got fixed, especially, so now I'm even in focus. I kind of want to test this A7 IV. I know that the stabilization will not be like Panasonic or Olympus. I know that the autofocus will be just great. I'm not having it on any tripod or anything, so my head is like, yeah, fairly big in the frame. We're at f4. Hopefully you can hear something across with the wind, because I have the furry thing on top of the camera with the DTV3 Pro, and I'm just holding the camera on its own. Kind of heavy compared to an action cam. But if the footage comes out okay, I might be doing this more. Honestly, this camera is just easy and nice to use. It does everything I want to. It has as many manual controls as I want to. It has automatic things as I want them to. And the 10-bit footage looks gorgeous. As much of an advocate I've been of Sony's 8-bit cameras are good enough, how easily things look good with 10-bit, it's kind of annoying. So what was I after? Great autofocus, decent stabilization, no need for vlogging purposes, but good stabilization otherwise, and great video. And then what is my definition of great video? I do not need high frame rates because I never used them, so what I really wanted was an upgrade from what I had before. And that means in practice, a color managed workflow, which I had with the Sony, and then 422 and 10-bit, which I didn't have with any of those cameras. I have it with the Zcam S6, but that's a total different beast that I really can't carry around like one of these cameras. So then the question was, if I wanted that full frameness, the good autofocus and all of those things, which are the options? Well, we have Sony, which is what I ended up with. There's Nikon, there's Canon, there's Panasonic. I just said autofocus, there's no Panasonic. So there's Canon, Nikon, and Sony. And I already used Sony cameras in the past. I like them very much. I already had a lens that I wanted to really keep. So my choices were within Sony, happily so. And the choices were either the A7 IV or the A7S III. So why did I go with the A7 IV? Well, at least here in Europe, and talking about euros, I have 1,400 reasons for choosing the A7 IV over the A7 III. The second big reason is that, as I said, I don't care about slow motion, so the 4K 60p cropped of the A7 IV, I'm probably almost never going to use it, so I didn't care that much, and I definitely don't need or want the 120 frames per second of the A7S III. And I know that because I had cameras that do slow motion in the past, and I just never use it, so it's not a use case for me. And then there's the fact that this will be also my main photo camera, so the 33 megapixels compared to the 12 of the A7S III made this the perfect hybrid choice for me. Now the lenses, this is when it makes me sound a bit more crazy. So I sold a ton of primes and I got a zoom. Why did I do that? And which one is it? It's a Tamron 28 to 75mm f2.8, the generation 2. And before you start sharpening your pitchforks and lighting your torches, please hear me out. I'm sure that I will end up buying the 35mm f1.8 at some point, but that's in the future, so I will get a prime. So thinking about the equivalency, and by that I mean the field of view and equivalent depth of field given the same framing, a 12mm f2 in micro four thirds give me, in terms of field of view and equivalent depth of field, a 24 f4 in full frame. Therefore, an f2.8 aperture will be wider and give me shallower depth of field than any of the primes that I used to own for micro four thirds. The Sigma trio for APS-C is a different story because the f1.4 equivalency in field of view and depth of field in full frame, it's less than 2.8, but I gain practicality. Primes are sharper than zooms, that's true. Zooms can be more convenient than primes, I believe that's also true. Even though most of you look like you're kind of settling in, there's still somebody behind with the pitchfork up and you're saying, oh, that with the prime, I would just frame everything more carefully, and with the zoom, I'm just going to be lazy. I didn't want to do this, but I feel the need of invoking the name of Roger Deakins. So I was looking in a round table or a podcast discussion with Roger Deakins, and somebody was telling him that one of the biggest and main difference between film and digital is with the film you were limited for the amount of time that you could film instead of having a digital camera rolling all the time. So you were more intentional, you were more careful with your lighting and with your framing and how were you shooting. So you were only shooting really the good shots that you wanted and you needed, compared to digital that you were just doing more stuff. To what Roger Deakins just replied that this has nothing to do with film or digital, that's about discipline. And this, at least to me, it applies also to zooms. I know that the different focal lengths will give a different look depending on what you're trying to do, depending on the framing, and I know which focal length I want to use in some situations. And that's something that I will be doing now with this Tamron, but I have done with zoom lenses in the past very much. If someday, like right now, I want to just use 35mm, I do set the zoom at 35mm and don't touch it. I'm gonna frame and reframe and move accordingly because I want the framing for that particular focal length. So I guess I'm trying to say that I'll have some discipline and less laziness, even though I got the practical solution. All right, fine. I know I didn't convince any of you. I hope that you're at least being polite down in the comments, but I'm happy with my choice. And that's really everything that should count, in the same way that I'm happy with your choice of a prime if that's what you wanted and what you needed, and it's what making you happy. And realistically speaking, with this A7 IV and the Tamron lens, I can do pretty much everything I was doing with all that pile of gear before. And to me, with either the same or better quality, some of the things have clearly improved and is clearly an upgrade. Some of the things I might miss a little bit, but overall, I won't miss the choice paralysis. I won't miss the piles of things in the closet being unused. And so far, I'm happy with this camera. And I'm well aware that many will prefer to have lots of choice instead of a more compact setup. And that's great. And if that's the thing that you want and the thing that makes you happy, please do, and I'm happy for you. But from my point of view, and really what I wanted is that I have downsized and I have upgraded my setup. And I hope you liked the video. I hope you stick around, and we're gonna see you soon for some more content.